We're fortunate that we're fortunate that in the U.S. the government has passed numerous anti-discrimination laws basically since the 1960s. So let's take a look at what some of those laws are. One of the most important was the Equal Pay Act of 1963, which basically stipulated that there cannot be any form of wage disparity based on sex. In particular, it was helping to raise the pay of women who a lot of times got paid less than their male counterparts for the same work. Next, we have the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which was really a landmark piece of legislation that outlawed the major forms of discrimination against blacks and women, not just in the workplace, but also with voter registration and public facilities. Obviously, this was a piece of legislation that changed our country and really moved forward our ability to treat each other with respect and outlawed discrimination. In 1967, we have the Age Discrimination Act, which basically forbids discrimination at work against anyone who's over 40 years of age. So it doesn't apply to anybody younger, but you cannot discriminate basically because someone is older. Let's say you think they're going to retire soon, you don't want to hire them, that would be illegal. The Age Discrimination Act of 1975 basically just built on that prior law, but is addressing things with like federal financial assistance or assistance with schools or colleges, anything provided by the federal government. So it just expanded the rights of those over 40. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978. Actually, pregnancy is considered a disability, oddly enough, and this act was passed basically as an amendment to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, so making it illegal for employers to discriminate against women who get pregnant. They basically have to give the same rights, insurance, privileges to pregnant women as to any employee with a disability or who is taking medical leave. So, good news, you cannot be fired for getting pregnant or for intending to get pregnant. The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 really obviously addresses Americans who have disabilities, and it makes it illegal to discriminate against them, and it's also required of employers to provide reasonable accommodation. That is, if it's not outrageously expensive for them to accommodate the employee or the candidate, an employer is required to do so, thereby giving equal rights to those Americans who have a disability. The Family Medical Leave Act of 1993 basically helps with workers who either have a need to take a medical leave personally, or they have to care for a sick family member, or again, this would cover pregnancy if they were giving birth, or now it includes adoption or foster care, that they get unpaid leave, and it's a requirement. So your employer cannot discriminate against you because of your need to take this leave, medical leave, either for yourself or for a family member. The Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act of 2008 is a relatively new law, which basically is getting up to speed with technology. Now that we can, detect the genetics of somebody, it's illegal for health plans or insurers to deny coverage on the basis of your genetic makeup. So let's say you're predisposed for a certain disease, and we know that because you've taken a genetic test. It would be illegal for you to be denied health coverage because of that. Maybe if you're a woman, you have the marker for breast cancer, you're absolutely covered by this act. Here we have the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act of 2009. This was put into law by Barack Obama, our president, on January 29th. And it's basically an amendment to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, it basically resets the statute of limitations for filing the equal pay lawsuit each time you get a check. So the implications of this are, let's say that you've been working for a company for 2 years and you've just figured out that as a woman you're getting paid less than your male counterparts. Just because you've been there 2 years, that doesn't mean that 180-day statute of limitation has expired, because each time you get a paycheck it restarts. If you left the company and then are trying to file after 180 days, that would be that the statute of limitations is up and you can no longer file. But as long as you work there, it resets each time you get a paycheck. And this is an act which is, it's not an act yet, it's not put into law. It's a proposed bill called the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. And it's proposing that discrimination against employees on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity be deemed illegal. Now, this is a federal act. At some state levels, like California, it's already illegal, but at the federal level, it is not, and they keep trying to get this passed, and to date, it has not been passed. So that's just an overview of some of the major federal employment laws that protect U.S. citizens and U.S. workers, and the great strides that we've made. Thanks for listening.